Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Justin the Food Entrepreneur Show. I'm Justin Bizzarro. I'm your host. That's Bizzarro. For anyone who's out there, you can find us on Instagram at Justin the Food Entrepreneurs or at Justin Bizzarro. I have a very special guest back with us, Michael Spencer from Nash Dogs from Nashville, Tennessee. How are you doing today, Michael?
I'm good. How are you, sir?
Good. It's been a while. I think it's been about 18 months, so a year and a half since you were last on. Sure, a lot has changed. Yeah. So let's talk about everything that's going on. Let's talk about what's changed over the last 2 years in your business, your growth, and where you're going. And then just as a recap for the audience, why hot dogs and how'd you get into it? So let's go a little bit into your story again, just slightly. And then let's talk about what's happened over the last 2 years with anchoring that with all the different locations and sort of units you have now. Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, cool.
First off, 18 months is a really long time. I didn't realize it had been that long since we talked. That's crazy. Time flies. So anyways, that being said, the business has come quite a ways. To kind of recap everything, Nash Dogs started as a way for me to create time freedom for myself and to be able to serve my own priorities and my own family in a better way. Was working for someone else, kind of pushing their goals and agenda for a long time, and really just didn't align with what I was trying to achieve. So I always knew that I wanted to be an entrepreneur, wasn't exactly sure how to get into that. I came across hot dogs because I was talking to another trucker, and kind of gave me a rundown of how he was, the money that he was making. And it just made sense for me because I was selling someone else's product at that point. I worked for a big box retail store, and I made them like $12.5 million in a year, and just thought to myself that do that with their product, what should I do with my own? Shortly after, I met that food truck guy, and it kind of birthed the idea that became Nash Dogs. So built Nash Dogs beginning in September of 2019. I left that job in December of that year with the goal of being done in March of 2020. So I finished on, I believe it was March 13th or 14th. It was the day that COVID kind of shut everything down. So finished this hot dog stand that I can't use. So from March of 2020 to November of 2020, it stayed in the storage, and I was just kind of doing an odd job working as a handyman. And my wife asked me if I was going to do anything with the hot dog stand, or if I was just going to let it sit in there. So we decided to start popping up and just kind of wherever folks would have us out. And it was very difficult to find a location. So found this old like Swifty gas station, or, it had turned into a Goodwill, and then Goodwill abandoned it. People were just kind of using it as like a dump site. They would bring their trash, leave it there. It was just kind of a eyesore to the community. So I was driving by it one day and not having luck with finding a location for Nash Dogs. And I was complaining, about that spot being dirty. And I was like, I wonder if anybody's going to do anything like about that, And I was like, well, why don't you do something about it? So I called the property owner and offered to clean the property in exchange for a spot to set up our hot dog stand. And that's kind of where Nash Dogs was born. So we set up that first day, and it was really wild, very busy, and it just kind of inspired us to set up for the next day. And every day since then, we've been selling 100% Angus beef dogs and growing more and more each day. And that brings us to the beginning of our 5th year. So December of this year will officially be 5 years. And we've got our location in Opry Mills Mall. We've got an actual food trailer now. Still got the hot dog stand, and then we've moved into doing like corporate catering and just added a lot more like facets to the business. And we today actually had a phone call with a property manager for a new location, and think that here in the next couple of months, hopefully around spring, we'll be opening up our official brick and mortar for the first time. So that kind of brings us current.
Okay, I love it. Let's talk about you've been looking around for brick and mortars. I think you looked at Food Assembly Hall maybe for a little bit. You've been looking around for a while. You've been in business for a while. This has been something on your mind, as a business owner. Talk to me about why this location, how long you've been looking, what were you sort of searching for?
So we did look at some other locations and they just didn't come to fruition. Assembly Food Hall was super intriguing, but very demanding. I just don't think that our concept was mature enough yet to be in there. So unfortunately, we didn't get that location, and that's okay. We were looking at the airport. It was kind of a similar situation. Just think that we weren't ready to grow yet. And I learned a lot. I learned about how to not be so conservative when creating pro formas. I try to be a very like rational guy, and that leads into like my projections and my numbers. I don't like to over promise, and under deliver. I like to under promise and over deliver. So I think that my pro formas could have had the projections a little stronger and a less conservative, and maybe those projects would have came to fruition. But again, I don't think that we were mature enough to really take on those challenges. Since then, I've really kind of like buckled down and defined like what it is that I want for Nash Dogs and put an employee handbook in place and like lots more corporate policies, trying to make Nash Dogs less mom and pop and more corporate so that it has like that structure to it. And that's what led me to look for a spot is because I now feel like that we are primed for growth and I've got a great staff. I let a lot of people go just because they didn't fit the mold for what I was trying to do long term. Some of them were work ethic, others personality, some of them like timeliness issues, but I really whittled Nash Dogs down to kind of bare bones in the middle of last year and then kind of resurrected it from that. Resurrected is probably a strong word, but I really got things back to close to like baseline, kind of reset, let dead weight go, and started to kind of build out the policies and procedures and put like recipe cards in place and just different things to make it more efficient. Long story short, we got into doing like this corporate catering with like Fuda and Easy Cater, kind of built out some new processes. So I've got a lot of staff right now and they are ready for more. So that's kind of what I was looking for was a spot that could allow me to move into the other facets of the business and expand the menu a little bit. We've got some other items we want to add like salads, chili and stuff like that. Some desserts, kind of expand the entree selection. So that became a thing and we saw the potential in being able to grow the business in that side of it. And we've got a team of people that are ready to work, but they don't necessarily have hours all of the time because, we're limited by food truck events and opera meals. You can only staff so many people at once. So in an effort to, increase the volume of sales and then utilize the assets that we have, in this case being employees ready to work, that's kind of what motivated us to start looking for this location that we found. And so previously it was a Subway, and that Subway owner decided to get rid of that location. It's an older building, which will work fine for us, but for him, he wanted to drive through and he wanted more square footage. So he actually bought old bank and renovated it, and he's been working on that for the last year. And it's going to be done soon. Once he moves out, the old Subway will be vacant, and it's pretty much primed and ready to go. I got to put a hood in there, kind of do like a little facelift on it, but should be able to move in pretty quick and get going with it. So that's really exciting, and it's a blessing.
It's pretty cool. So, like, talk to me about like equipment. Does it have it? Does Subway have it? Do you then align it to what you have? You've obviously been in a smaller space before. Does it change the way you cook your dogs? Does it change? Do you add sausage? Like, talk to me about the menu. You talked a little bit about desserts and hot dogs and stuff, but talk to me about Where does this go? Do you have an idea of creativity, things that you couldn't do before that you can do now?
So the equipment is going to be pretty easy. I mean, it's, like they've already got the countertops and stuff in there. I'm not sure how much the stuff they're going to take. I'm expecting a bare bones building, but I just need a couple fridges and prep tables. I'm going to have to install a hood, and then I'll use a flat top grill, which I already have the 4-foot 4 burner gas grill. Pretty excited about that. Putting that in there because up to this point we've done, we've been working on a 24-inch griddle, so we'll be moving to a 48-inch griddle that's 18 inches deep instead of 14. So get the additional 4 inches of depth and then another 2 foot of space. So we'll be able to cook more dog and then kind of expand what we're doing. I'm going to put a fryer in there. At Opera Meals, we don't have a fryer. The food truck doesn't have a fryer. So we'll be able to add in like tater tots or like waffle fries or, some sort of side dish, So that'll be nice because we've always just done potato chips, which really kind of affects the margin. But go add in those sides and then a couple of more mains. Gonna do like a build your own salad and then like a build your own chili bowl. Kind of have some like Prix Fix toppings for that, but kind of allow them to choose from those toppings and kind of design their own little meal. And then we're gonna do banana pudding and some like desserts, maybe like lemon bars or like chest pie or something like that. So just trying to keep it really clean and simple, efficient. Maybe gonna have like a drink bar in there and do like some special sodas or something like that. Just high margin items. Really gonna try to make it more about the experience. That's what I've kind of figured out is that people going out spending $10 on a hot dog. They're not spending $10 on a hot dog because they want a $10 hot dog. They're spending $10 on a hot dog because they want a $10 experience. So what are you doing to give them an experience? So that's kind of that's the mindset right now is how can we add value to the food through the location, you know? So that's kind of I don't know if I answered all your questions, but that's kind of where
Yeah,
we're at.
that's absolutely. Let's talk about chips. Let's talk about, you said expanding sides, the like French fries, hot dogs, things, toppings for the dogs. Like obviously you can expand there. You could probably even hold more hot dogs, so it gives you the possibility to start maybe even produce your own custom hot dog. Like, are all those things you're thinking about?
I am just trying to think about how to utilize the items that we already carry more efficiently. So, like with the salad, for example, like right now you can go and you can get a hot dog and it'll, you could add tomato, bacon, cheese, any condiment that you want. You could add pickle, onion. All of these things are toppings that can go on a salad, So the only reason we can't make a salad is because we don't have lettuce. So lettuce, very low cost item. We're gonna put that on the menu, and now instead of somebody saying, "Well, no, I don't want a hot dog." Well, it's not just hot dogs now. Now we have a salad, and these instead of the topping sitting there unused because they don't want a hot dog, now we're making making a fresh salad for you, and it's a $10 item. But maybe we grab some more people because a husband and wife they're going out, and not everybody wants to eat a hot dog. She that's what I said, like the experience portion of it. Like I wanted it to be a gathering place, so I'm gonna put some TVs up and kind of have like a lounge area, maybe like a little book area, something like that, so that people can just kind of come in and hang out. Like I almost want people to loiter, if you will, and with the goal of motivating them to spend their money. Thinking about maybe putting in like a little video game area or something. I'm not 100% sure what yet, but I just want an attraction that people will come be a part of, and they're there anyways. Maybe we do like a movie night, for example, and they come not planning to eat, but they end up buying, a draft beer and a banana pudding. I don't care how I get your $10. I just need your $10. So that's kind of the thought there. Just really trying to add some value in items and entertainment that will get people through the door, because hot dogs are really awesome on their own. But if you compare them with some other items and entertainment, I feel like that the volume is going to increase. And now we're not just selling hot dogs, we're selling an experience. And that's what people are really paying for. And that's what's going to keep you around long term, because you can get a hot dog or a salad or a bowl of chili anywhere. But where can you get one with the experience that you're going to have at Nash Dog? You know?
Has the growth of Nashville affected your business? Obviously, it's booming. I don't know what that means to the mall or anything like that over the last 2 years, but it is obviously expanding, more hotels being open, more honky tonks. You're on the outskirts, but is that driving more business and more dollars into your business? Would you say, do you feel that? Or is it just sort of, it's still a hustle, more dollars bring more competition?
I definitely think that the growth has helped a lot. There's a lot of people moving into the area, and like just the people that come to visit, the new people that are moving to the area. And those are people that have never had a Nash dog. Those are people that can go be tourists at Opry Mills. You know, I, as a resident of the city, the growth is annoying as hell, to be honest with you. Taxes are more expensive, traffic's terrible. But as a business owner, it's kind of hard to complain. I'm in a couple like Facebook groups and just like hearing from other food truckers, there's people that are selling like two hot dogs and a canned Coke for $7. And that sounds wild to me, you know. And then I tell them, well, I'm getting $10 for just a hot dog by itself. And like they don't believe it. So I just couldn't imagine being in an area where people were hesitant to spend a couple bucks on their food, and go out and have a good time. So I think that Nashville has definitely helped in that way. And I mean, I guess from the sounds of it, it's almost spoiled me a little bit, because I mean, I don't want to be in a city where I have to fight for business. I'm all about going to the money, but I'm not going to beg you to come eat. You know, you either want it or you don't. If I can get your attention for a moment, I'm sure I can get it in your hand. But like some of these places that I've heard of, like I mean, I'm good on a slow economy. I'm a businessman, and I'm ready to capitalize on the captive audience. You know what I'm? But I mean, honestly, even in like an area like that, I mean, I feel like I could thrive. You go to a small town with not a lot. I mean, they're just looking for something special. So I think that Nashville has helped. A lot. It's kind of hard to deny that, but at the same time, it's really all about the grit and the hustle of it. Because there's people in Nashville also that I talk to in their business, they're not thriving, and they would probably answer your question and say no, it's not helping. So I think it really depends on the business and the person. But I think it would be very stupid to say that Nashville hasn't afforded us opportunity to succeed. Anyone that hasn't succeeded just hasn't, taken the time to grab Nashville by the reins, if you will.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think that that's a big part of it as well. I think there's a lot of opportunity there. I don't know. I think that with such a booming market there, it's hard to complain. You can drive up prices, which is good right now with inflation the way that is and food costs going up. And people come to Nashville and they know they're going to spend hundreds of dollars a night. I mean, it's hard if you're going there to enjoy yourself, to eat well, to drink well, to enjoy yourself. You're spending hundreds of dollars a day, especially with live music or activities or trying to be a foodie and do some of the outskirts, East Nashville, things like that, Brentwood, all that, those type of places. It's all going to cost money. So I think from what we were talking about before, a $10 hot dog is not bad because you just spent $50 on a steak. I think that,
Yeah, for sure.
And from the perspective of Nashville food trucks and stuff, I mean, I would say that it's not the easiest city to get around, but I think with the city changing and adapting to its growth, it'll become easier for sure. And I don't know if they've ever worked out sort of the vending downtown and all that, but in a matter of time, they're going to have to. You can't keep growing, can't keep shoving in more and more people into a city every weekend and not sort of start to regulate all that stuff.
Yeah, they have. They did a food truck study for 10 years, starting in 2014, and it ended last year. And they just passed a lot of new regulations that have actually made it a little easier to get approved in some ways, but stricter in some other ways. So that's actually really encouraging because I did a event last year on, actually, I'm not going to say the day that I did it, and I'm not going to say who I did the event with because I don't want to blast anybody's name, but I was very underwhelmed and almost kind of shocked at the quality of the event and the vendors that were present at this event that I went to. And I'll say this: it was a city sponsored event, and that's why I was so shocked about the quality of the vendors that were there. And I was just like, "What in the heck is going on out here?" And I was really thrilled to hear that shortly after that, that is when the referendum and everything was passed, and a lot of the things that I'd kind of seen that day had been addressed, and it's going to be a little more difficult for vendors to serve in a public setting like that, especially, and they're going to try to gear those types of things to local people. Like a lot of the people had come in from out of state. There was a guy that was it's 6 a.m. in the morning. It's the middle of the summer, and he's preparing raw chicken breast on the side of the street on a fold out table, no hand sink in sight, no shirt. I'm sorry, there was a shirt. He was in a wife beater. He's sweating. It's like the middle of the summer. It's hot as hell. And he's just like preparing raw chicken breast with his hands, no gloves, on a table, no cutting board. And I'm just like, what is going on here? So you have a point for sure.
I have to say that's some of the things that I saw going on. I'm glad they've done it. It did literally make me rethink about whether or not I wanted to be in food or not anymore, because I was just so blown away by the lack of concentration on something so important that if people weren't drinking alcohol, the food poisoning rates would be through the roof down there. If they weren't just killing the bacteria with massive amounts of alcohol, I don't know what would be going on. That's how I felt about it. I was just like, oh my gosh, there's no regulation. No one's regulating food quality here or whether or not these things are safe. No one's doing anything. It's crazy. But I think it was just because in between and the city growing so fast, no one's really sure how to handle it. Plus, you do want to feed all those people, especially since most places aren't open late night downtown, at least 2 years ago, year and a half, yearish ago, all the time there. That just, you couldn't find anything unless you wanted to go through like White Castle, and there is a White Castle there. I'd walk by it every day on the way home, and it would be packed. That and Cookout packed at like 3 o'clock in the morning. But, so I think there's opportunity there. There's other places there. But one of the things that I think that you're doing well is you're letting your product and your brand grow organically. You're not letting it outgrow the pace that it needs to. You're strategically allowing God to determine what places to go into. We talked about Food Assembly Hall. We talked about the other place, and now here we go. Here's Subway. Do you have reliable staff and a reliable team to help you as you expand, make sure that the operations are being run properly in all the locations and the food truck continues to roll out? Or food trailer, excuse me.
Yeah, for sure. That was a big push towards and last year was kind of getting a employee handbook putting together and training manuals and like cooking procedures. So used to, I mean, everybody just kind of learned through, through discussion, if you will. I would kind of train them and talk with them and, it's kind of like them, like watch and learn. And then they would, some people learn by doing. So it's just like a very like hands-on learning process. And that's a lot to retain. So I wanted to really simplify that process and make it duplicatable and easy to do even if I'm not around, So I took the time to create menu recipe cards for each item with a step-by-step process, how it should, you know, be prepared all the way from, the portions and the color of the portion cup that you should use to how and when to properly oil and season it, how long that should be cooking and like what your processes are. So it's something like, step one, take, one yellow scoop of onions, put it on the grill, take one red scoop of bacon, put it on the grill. Step three is season and oil both onion and bacon, allow it to saute for 60 seconds. Step four is, put the hot dog bun on the grill, let it toast for 30 seconds. Your topping should be finishing. You're going to put your dog and your bun on step five, put condiment, anyway. So long story short, like that, you're walking them through it all the way through. And there's a picture of what the finished product should look like and the step-by-step process for how that should be done. That has really kind of minimized on a lot of the cooking errors. So then I took that process a step further, and I started putting up like cleaning schedules, and I made a weekly task like poster. So it's 4 foot long, 3 foot tall, and it's on the wall at the mall. And there's daily assignments that are for open shift and closing shift, and it allows them to communicate with each other, and they're expected to check these assignments off as they go through the day. So what it's done is really kind of taken out a lot of the talking that I'm having to do. I'm not having to remind people to wash the onion chopper anymore because that is the Tuesday morning assignment, for example, and we're not having to figure out if we're reusing condiments that were, did we refill the bottle or did like, so now it's, we use these bottles, we refill them on Tuesday, and on Wednesday that those bottles go out of service and we bring a new set in, so all that to say processes and procedures just kind of, I had to develop all of those so that I could simplify what I was doing so that I can move into another location and my phone's not ringing every couple of minutes with a different question. So that's the move to corporatize Nash Dogs and take away that mom and pop feel. So instead of hand scooping onions, we're using a portion cup now, for example. So just a couple little points of interest there.
Is that because you're trying to do portion control? You're trying to control your costs? Talk to me a little bit about some of these operational things as you're thinking about and growing, and now maybe even supplying all your locations from the quote unquote sub location, like as a central commissary or whatever. Talk to me about like all of that, items that you'll prepare, maybe even expansion of items. Are you looking to maybe make some things on your own that you once bought? What is sort of zigzag me around there?
Yeah, so just trying to minimize the processes so that we can be more efficient with our time, but also with, from the monetary perspective as well. But, like I was talking about the recipes. If I'm having to answer the phone to tell you how to cook a specialty dog or answer the phone to tell you how to do a sales report, I have less time to think about what's next. You're thinking of, I don't want, I'm trying to eliminate having to think about what I've already done so that I can think about what's next, because I spend too much time talking about the same processes that I've already taught you, or not you, but, taught them. And I wanted to reduce the amount of repeating myself that I had to do. So that was the reason for putting stuff like that in place. But I've also really centralized like our purchasing. A lot of stuff is being delivered now. So instead of running around town, going to different places, trying to find the deal, they just bring it to us, and then we're able to kind of figure out how to best use those items in the food truck and the mall, you know, instead of having to make multiple trips a week because we're running out of stuff. I just kind of uh, I buy more than what we need and kind of serve from abundance there. All of that is just to kind of eliminate again, like having to think about stuff twice. So because your brain can only think about one thing at a time. So thinking about something twice, then it's taking away my ability to think about what's down the road. So like you asked how we were like if we were using any products that maybe we used to buy and now we're making them. So that's a great example of kind of minimizing the cost, but also the time put into something. So before we were buying chili seasoning in like individual packs, they were like 35 cents a piece. And then we started buying containers, like bigger like jugs of it. But this past week, I actually have started purchasing all of the individual ingredients, and I'm gonna make my own chili seasoning so that I can save money, and then also save time because I can't buy a ton of chili seasoning because of how much it is. So now I can make more of it, a larger batch, and save the money. Even if I spend a little more money on it, it's going to be less per ounce, and it's going to be a once a month thing instead of 2 or 3 times a month having to shop for it. So just that's another way that I'm trying to kind of do our own thing, and go away from having to spend all of our money on the commercialized retail products, so we can be more efficient with the time, give me the ability to think about what's coming in the future, and then also keep a couple extra pennies in our pocket.
Have you seen prices go up by you for your cost of goods, your cost of labor? We talked about taxes, but have the other things also impacted
Yeah, for
you?
sure. Yeah, everything's super expensive these days. Always, when I first started, I always said I would never sell a hot dog for $10, but I do now. We just went up on our prices at the beginning of the year, and I put it off far too long, but it just didn't make sense to put it off anymore. I hated having to do it first. I know that kind of sounds silly. Obviously we're in it to make money, but I really try to keep the customer in mind. But I'm either going to thrive or not going to survive, if that makes sense. I'm not in it to just get by. Like I want to succeed and thrive, and I'm not in it for charity. I was talking to a friend that owns a sandwich shop, and he had somebody tell him that he was charging too much for his sandwiches. So his sandwiches, he uses Amish made sourdough bread. He uses Amish cheese and meat, hand slices it. You know, it's all fresh. It's delicious. It's like really top notch ingredients. He sells the sandwiches for 9.99, and he had somebody give him a bad review because they said that he's taking advantage of people. He should be selling these sandwiches for $4. And that's the same person that told him that he should be paying people $20 an hour instead of $10 an hour. So like that's one the same person thinks that he should be giving his sandwiches away at $4 and paying people $20 an hour. And it just doesn't make sense. So the price has to increase if you want the quality there. If you want it at home, make it at home. You're paying for an experience, not just food. Even if the experience is I'm saving you from having to wash dishes at your own home, you could be as simple as that. Like, mom doesn't have to wash dishes tonight, and you guys are eating food that someone else made, or it's like dinner and a movie experience, and it's lavish. But either way, it has to be paid for. So now my hot dogs are $10, and I'm actually doing better because of it. And I'm kind of bothered that it took me so long to do it. And really, what it was is I was going around to other people and seeing what they were charging, and really feeling kind of foolish for what I'm producing and what I'm getting paid to do it. You know, you go to Starbucks and it's $9 for a coffee, or you can go to Nash Dogs and you can get 100% Angus beef with hand chopped onions, fresh bacon that we've just grilled, and and Duke's mayo, which is the highest quality of like heavy duty mayonnaise you can buy, and that was $8, 8.64 after tax.
I know. I like your
Meanwhile,
mayonnaise on the hot dogs. I'm a big fan of that.
and it's just like you're doing all that. Like I'm literally grilling beef for $8, and it just doesn't. And then we went to a place that just opened here locally, and they have this concept that kind of reminds me of like like when you go to Wendy's and you get a Frosty and you dip your French fries in it. So like they have that concept
Oh,
here.
yeah, yeah, I
And
love it.
all right, so you can go and you can get a soft serve ice cream in a dish. We'll call it a small Frosty from Wendy's, if you can imagine that size, right? And then you get a medium fry. Okay. So me, the wife, my son, we went to this place. We got 3 small Frosties, 2 medium fries. What do you think we paid?
Probably $50 at
It
least, maybe
was
65.
$34
Oh, wow, that's
before
nothing.
tip. It was $34 before the tip. And that was as basic as you can get it. When I
Uh,
say basic, I mean like they're just like basic salted French fries and basic ice cream. But if you want to add like a topping or a seasoning salt, for example, so you can do like hot Cheeto powder over these French fries, they charge $1.50 for it. If you want crushed up M&Ms in your ice cream, it's $1.50. And out at Nash Dogs, it's $8 for an Angus. It was $7 for an Angus beef hot dog, $1 for bacon, $1 for cheese, $1 for chili, which is homemade. And I'm just like, what the hell are we doing? Like we're giving food away. They're making $34 off 3 servings of French fries and a cup of ice cream. So we I needed to be closer to $15 a transaction, and we're almost there. I'm at 1380 right now. Once I get this brick and mortar, and I can add in fountain drinks and possibly like beer and dessert, I think we're going to be closer to $18 to $20 a head, and it's just going to be wonderful. And then we went up on the minimums for the food truck as well. It's still the same minimum, but it's less people to serve to achieve the same number. So everything had to change because I'm honestly not in it to do it for fun or for free or for charity. Definitely trying to run a business over here, keep the people employed that are working with me, and grow something that's going to be substantial and long lasting.
I love it. I think it's just amazing. What inspires you? What motivates you? What keeps you doing it? I mean, we've talked about it a little bit before, but what is it now? I mean, 18 months is a long time, a lot of time to educate yourself differently. You like all sorts of things, reading books on tape, anything that you can get to grow yourself. Talk to me about sort of the changes in you, the growth in you, the difference in you, and because of it, your business.
I mean, it's really always been the same kind of objective. I'm just serving my priorities so that I can, achieve what it is that I'm after, which is freedom and the ability to kind of do things in my own way, and serve my family in the best way possible and not chase someone else's goal in an effort to achieve my own. So that's always been the objective behind it and the drive. I wouldn't necessarily say that anything has changed in what we're trying to get done, but maybe how we're getting it done. I mean, I've always tried to take take care of my employees, and treat them the way that I expected to be treated, you know, the way that I wasn't treated. So I try to show them that they're valuable and that this thing can only succeed with us as a group. But I've really just found that to motivate people in a different way, and it has to be a very like team oriented thing without saying team because nobody likes that word anymore in regards to business. But I'm trying to achieve something that motivates them to want to help business grow and an effort to help themselves grow. We're not just trying to achieve it for Nash Dogs. Like I'm trying to help you take care of your family long term. What is it that you want? Each person's different. Some people are just looking to pay bills. Some people want to be entrepreneurs. So I've really tried to use my own mindset and thinking process to evaluate kind of where people are in their own journeys because nobody goes to work because they want to be at work. Nobody's just coming to Nash Dogs because they love cooking hot dogs. Like people are coming because they got bills to pay, but why do they want to pay the bills? Me because I want to take care of my family. I've got this young guy that works for me. He's like 18, 19 years old, and he's got a project car that he's working on. And the reason that he comes to Nash Dogs is because he wants to be an entrepreneur and make enough money to, make his car super dope. So I've got a lady that works for me, and she is there to take care of her children, and that's her motivation. So just really trying to dig in and figure out what everybody's after, so that we can face this thing together. Because we all have different goals, but I feel like the Nash Dogs can help us achieve all of them. You know, it's the vehicle that'll get us there, and the destination is success. But I think it looks different for all of us. So I think that your question was how has my mindset affected the business, and that's how.
Have you gotten better with your employees, leading them, making them a team? I know you said it was a bad word, but making them a team. Talk to me. Where have you succeeded there? How's that changed? How do you look at like building the new team for the Subway? Let's talk about that specifically. How do you build a new team? How do you look at how many employees you need? How do you build the systems in a new place and then hire the right people? Where's your mind? I know we talked about all the operations managers. You've organized all that stuff, but you're going to a new place. You have to hire people. What are you looking for?
So before we were just hiring because we needed people to work, and you can't run a business if there's no employees to run it. So honestly, I was kind of willing to accept probably more than I should have as far as like mediocrity goes, and people's insistence on doing things their way instead of the way that it should be done, which is the way that I said it should be done because it's my business, and like you would assume that if someone tells you, hey, here's this thing that I own and here's how I want you to treat it, that people would just do it that way. But what I've learned is that people want to, they say one thing and then they do whatever the hell they want when you're not around. They want, and like people, if let's say they have 100% to offer, that's what you're paying them for. That's why you pay someone a great wage, because you're thinking that they're going to come in, work hard, they're going to see that they're taken care of, so they're going to take care of you. But what I've learned is like that's not the case. The angle that most people play is they're looking to come in and get paid the most to do the least. So even if they can offer 100%, they're only going to give you 60%. And when I first started, like I thought that hey, overpaying people would make them work harder. Like when I worked for someone else and I had 170 employees that I was responsible for, I always thought that they would work harder if they just got paid a little more. So I thought that when I opened my business, I would just pay people really well and that they would work really hard. Definitely not true. What I've learned is you got to bring people in at a good wage, not a great wage, with the incentive of making a great wage. Like people, unfortunately, like, and I guess the metaphor that I'll use is they need a carrot to chase. Like people want to be a horse with a carrot dangling in front of them. But if you give people just a basket of carrots, they'll just sit there and eat the carrots and will never make any progress because they've already got what they're after. So I've started bringing in people at a lower rate. I used to hire in at 16, 17, 18. I'm hiring in between 13 and 15 now, telling folks what they are, what they could achieve, and having the conversation with them. What are your goals? Where you're trying to go? Right now, I'm not really looking for people that are just looking to be around to make money, to serve their own purposes. Maybe in the future, like Nash Dog can support that. But right now, where I'm at is I need people that want to be around long term, people that are looking to serve our purpose. And when I say our, I mean like theirs and Nash Dogs. At McDonald's, you can go there and you can work there for your whole life and serve just your purpose. You can go there and be a good employee, just look out for yourself, not really worry about anybody else. And McDonald's will never know the difference. But at a small business like this, if you come in and you only care about yourself and you're not worried about what everybody else has got going on, it's just not going to work, because like I need people that are willing to do a little more and give a little more, just based on the relationship. Because I do plan to overpay for you for your services, but I don't know. Like there's things that need to be done that make you partners instead of teammates. you know, and that's kind of where I'm at right now. Is I'm looking for partners. I'm looking for people that are going to be around long term. So when I've been hiring, I've been very upfront and straightforward about what it is that I'm looking for, and I'm not really going to tolerate any mediocrity anymore. I let a lot of people go last year because they did not fit the mold. I gave them the opportunity to get better, told them what I was looking for, where they were falling short, gave them the option to remain with Nash Dogs and grow. Some of them did, some of them didn't. No hard feelings, but the people that didn't, I learned a lesson from them. Each person showed me something that I need to know. Some people taught me like family isn't always great in a business. Other folks taught me to be quick to make a decision. I learned that you can't really see what it is that you want someone to be. You got to see them for who they are. If they show you, believe it. So those are all of the things that are kind of being put into place to make sure this next location is successful. Higher standards, set expectations, and opportunities for each person to grow and kind of, elevate in their role, instead of just coming in and being maxed out. And they have an opportunity to come in and earn a bonus. Now I'm going to have daily sales goals in place based off of historical data. You're going to be like, hey, on this day last year, we did X. We need to do 25% over that this day. And if you achieve that, then you'll get a 5% bonus. So there'll be the daily bonus for individuals, and then there'll be a team bonus. We hit our numbers every day as a team for 30 days. Here's what your bonus looks like, So just giving people incentive to grow within the business, then I'm going to use those metrics to decide who needs to be around long term. I'm going to put these challenges in place, and in a month, 6 months, I'll have an idea of who's actually doing those activities and leaning into that, and who's just ignoring it. And I'll be able to say, obviously you're not a great fit because you haven't hit a single sales goal, or hey, every day for the last 60 days you've hit your sales goal, and you're the culture that we're after. These are the type of people we want to lean into. So it just gives you a great idea of who to keep and who to filter out, So that's a long breath of air there, but I hope that kind of answered the question.
Talk to me about skill versus attitude. We talked a little bit about it, but what I mean,
yeah,
you're in a skill,
attitude is not.
Yeah, and why? And what? So, what have you found with that sort of thing? You and I have talked a lot about this offline, but we've never really talked about it on a podcast. I mean, so do you hire for attitude or you hire for skill?
I am definitely looking for a mix of both because I've tried to teach skill and like I need people that can cook is what I've learned. Because I don't like having to teach people to cook. Like it's because my version of a sauteed onion and someone's version of a sauteed onion that doesn't know what the hell they're doing is vastly different. And I just need people that know what they're doing. So, but also there are some people that I'm willing to lean a little more into, like this young man that's working with me. He didn't know how to cook. He does now, but he was very ambitious and willing to help and just outgoing and ready for a challenge, you know? So that's what I'm after. And that's what I was kind of saying earlier is like, I need people who are willing to give a little more of themselves without demanding exchange of currency, if that makes sense. Like, I know that kind of sounds a little off in this world that we live in. You know, everybody demands to be paid for every moment of their time. But I think that if you really, the best businesses were created by people who decided to grind together. And the long, I need people to understand the long term goal is what we're after instead of this short term success. Like and we got bills to pay. So I understand that people are worried about the short term, but it gets a bit grating to have to. It gets a bit grating to be the only person that carries the vision and the goal. So I've decided that I don't want people around that don't see the vision or the goal. And like somebody asked me the other day, they're like, well, what are you going to do if people don't participate in the bonus structure and the sales goals? I'm going to fire them because it's not an option. Like I can teach you skill, but I can't teach you attitude. Like when somebody walks up to the kiosk at the mall and they look at the menu, I can tell whether or not I want somebody to work for me or not based on how they respond to the person that walks up and doesn't say anything. Because if it's me, every single person that walks up, hey, how are you? Have you ever had a Nash dog? Would you like to try a Nash dog? Like, what are you interested in? Because I need that $10 out of your right pocket. You know, other people are like, just whatever they can do to minimize the work. And, you know, somebody walks up and they look at the menu and they don't even get a greeting. I don't need that. I don't want that. And I'm not going to accept it. Nope, you're fired. I want people that are, hey, sir, how are you? Like, thanks for checking us out. Let me know if you have any questions. You know, like that's what I'm after. So that's the attitude. And I'm not going to request it. I'm not going to ask for it. I'm going to hire it in. And if it doesn't continue to be that, then I'm going to take people out of that position because I'm looking to win, not to be taken advantage of.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think there's also being able to if people have the right attitude, you can rotate them into different positions or they can be cross-trained much easier for your business. So they're more vital. They also can grow in your business into positions as the business grows. That's a key thing also. There's less training for them over time. They're worth their value because they already know the business because they stay loyal longer. It's a big deal. Let's, as we sort of wrap things up here and sort of, gosh, I don't even know if this is number 5. I think it might be number 5. I have to look. But
this episode is the
4th. There we go. Number 4. As we sort of wrap things up here, what is it that you're trying to create 20 years from now? If you could paint the picture, I know you're a manifester. I know your faith in God. I know how it all aligns in your relationships, in your business. What is it that you're trying to build 20 years from now?
The goal is to have a franchise model that is easily duplicatable that gives me mailbox money. That is the simplest way to say it. I just need something that is substantial and well thought out that's going to succeed with or without me, that other people can plug and play into their investment goals and use Nash Dogs as an avenue to grow their own entrepreneurship, to achieve their own entrepreneurship goals and, grow their own wealth. So everything that I'm doing is the template for that. And eventually I'd like to step back so that someone in a corporate role, they can have its own board that runs it. I'm not trying to be the end all be all CEO of Nash Dogs for the rest of my life. I'd like to, in the next 5 to 10 years, really start to not necessarily remove myself from it, but I'd really like to reduce my roles, take off some of the hats, and just kind of slowly but surely take away the things that I want to reduce the energy that I have to put in to Nash Dogs for Nash Dogs to run. Like right now, if I died, Nash Dogs would cease to exist probably in a couple months. I need to be able to fall off the face of the earth and for people to have to go read about me on Wikipedia. Like it's a big mission, but I'm after generational wealth. So that's always the goal, is to build this thing out to make it to where other people can win and succeed so that we can all win and succeed. Not just about the monetary value of it, but I've just put far too much work into it for this project to just go away with my death. That's kind of where I'm at, really, is thinking about the legacy of Nash Dogs and where it's going to be when I'm no longer around. So just to keep it frank with you.
I love it. Anything you want to share with the audience? Talk to me about that. Talk to me about, lessons you've learned that you wish you would have known 2 years ago. Anything like that. Let anything you can pump into the audience that you wish you would have known or that you would think would be helpful for anyone out there.
I mean, just from the entrepreneurship aspect, like it's a grind and every day doesn't look the way that we want it to, but progress doesn't mean perfection. Progress just means action, day in and day out, a little bit of progress hopefully will lead us to the promised land, so that's kind of where I want to leave it with, just, keep pushing, keep grinding. And if you're really after it, you'll keep doing it. And I feel like that entrepreneurship really defines like who we are and how bad we want it, because our society and our government hasn't set us up to win. They've set us up to be employees, not employers. And they've really made it to where if you want to do this, you've got to do it in every sense of the word. The grind doesn't stop. And I definitely understand why most businesses fail in the first 5 years, because me, myself, I have never considered giving up, but like the thought of like not pushing as hard as passed through my head, and just not an option, because I'm pushing to achieve this and to get it where it wants to go. And I feel like that if you're not willing to stick with it all the way through, then it's probably not worth starting, because what I've learned is that it's much more than you could ever anticipate. Like no matter how much thought you put into it, you can think about it. You can think about it for 10 years and do 10 years worth of R&D on the business that you want to start. And on day one, you'll figure out more than you ever could have researched. Entrepreneurship is not for the weak, and the government has set entrepreneurs up to fail. They don't want us to thrive. They want you to be an employee. So unless you're ready to work your ass off, like stay if you're 40, because this ain't for everybody. So that probably is not as inspiring as you'd like it to be, but it's true, and it needs to be said.
There is a lot of truth in hard knocks, right? And the inspiration can be found in them when we actually realize them, and that inspiration can actually be pointed in the right direction and utilized and actually much better used and trained for when we do have the truth and not, I'll say reality, but there's a spiritual world that needs to be allocated into that, especially any of the decisions we're making for the future. I think everyone knows how I feel about that in the audience. But last question. I know I said that was my last question. That was my last business question.
All right.
Football coach, father, watching your son grow up. One of the things we talked about a lot in the other episodes is having that time to invest in your family, invest in your son, be there for his football. Talk to me about what all of that's like, coaching or cheering, being a father, helping him grow into the human that he is, all of it. Because I think for you is a big part of your motivation, and the reason you want such legacy is because of him and your wife and his children and his grandchildren and all of those things. So talk to me a lot about the time and the intention you have with investing in your family.
Point investing in the family was just to be able to kind of give them an experience that I didn't really have as a child. We were kind of all over the place and didn't really have a great family dynamic. I lost my father early in life. He actually passed away on January 11th. So the 30-year anniversary of that was just 2 days ago. So I grew up without a dad and just like didn't have a lot of support in that regard. So just wanted to be there for my own son to make sure that he has that father figure support in his life, and so that he knows that he can win, because I had to figure that out for myself. I had a lot of people that supported me and showed me love, but it took me really getting out on my own to figure out like how to be the man that I want to be. I was raised by my grandmothers, and they raised me the best that two women can, but there's only certain things that a female can teach a male who's going to become a grown man in a very demanding society.
Not to mention a society that's constantly challenging his masculinity right now, not in a very biblical way. Don't get me wrong. I don't want everyone to go all wild on me. I'm defining it in a biblical way, but that takes a father. It takes an example. Otherwise, how are we ever going to get the skill? Or mentors or coaches or a combination of all of them would be really awesome. But anyway, go ahead.
I just feel like that one of the things that I missed out on a lot. I had a man in my life growing up, but honestly, he was not a great dude. He was not worth talking about much more other than what I just said, honestly. But what I didn't learn growing up was like how to properly be a man, and like the proper gender roles, and like what the expectations of a man taking care of his family are. Like I have my own thoughts about that, and I really try to approach like everything with a lot of integrity and like consideration for the people that I'm living with and loving, which I felt like that wasn't something that I got a ton of either. So life has just definitely been a lot about kind of like figuring out the best way to interact with my own family and doing a lot of kind of what I wasn't shown. Like I got love from my grandmas and from my mom, but like that strong family dynamic really wasn't there. So that's something that I wanted in my life. And as a child, like everything was just about like kind of the hustle, and like there wasn't ever enough to go around. So I didn't want that and didn't want to sacrifice my time for money. So now I sacrifice my time for money in a different way. LOL. But
yeah,
now I get to do it in the way that I want to. I get to define my day, and I'm not told no. You had mentioned the football aspect of things, so like left that job. One of the big reasons was because of a baseball game that I'd requested off work for. I was supposed to be going to this game and requested off in advance. And then like on the day of, they tried to call me in and were like super upset that I wouldn't come in. It was just like a bigger deal than it should have been, because I'd requested off work, went through all the proper procedures, and then it still ended up being an issue. Meanwhile, I see myself as someone who's one of the hardest workers at this branch, and I can't get the day off for my son's baseball game. So it just wasn't like very motivating to continue to work. So now I'm a football coach. I started going to his practices, and that morphed into me being like a team dad. And then 2 seasons ago, I was invited to come on as a volunteer coach. And this past season, I was invited to officially be a coach. So I got to coach with him this past year and the year before and get to be on the field with him. And that was really cool getting to kind of see all that culminate, the reason why I pursued working on my own has kind of like culminated into now work on my own and I can do more than I ever could have done, previously. Build my schedule around his. I can be there every night for his practice and my food truck schedule's planned around his game days. So that's, it's just really satisfying in that regard to kind of see like the personal aspect of it aligning with the business aspect. There's still a lot of work to do to really kind of like button all of it up, but it gives me faith and hope that the other things that I'm trying to achieve at a personal level, like keeping my wife from having to work and just like being able to cover like all the bills, like that's something I would like to do. That's something that motivates me to continue to push. That's why I don't mind working as much as I do, because if I was able to achieve the goal of not only going to the football games but then getting to go to all of them, and not only going to all of them but now we get to coach all of them, if that goal can continue to elevate and go to different levels, everything else should too. So I don't think that there's ever problems in the business. I always think that there's just opportunities for me to grow and morph into what the business needs in order to succeed, because the concept is achieved. The concept is not a failure. At this point, it's just about the person that
100%.
runs and operates it.
Yeah. Now it's time to scale the empire.
Absolutely. And I just feel like at this point, I can look at the business and say that any of the problems that are within the business are because of the person that's running it, which is me, so I just have to look within and figure out what to do to elevate and to grow it in an effort to achieve the rest of the personal thing. So at the end of the day, the reason is the fuel for the drive.
Love it. Just, I think it's amazing. And I think we're going to end it there because I have other questions we could go on for you and I for another hour as to why we have so many episodes so far. But Michael, I appreciate you coming on the show. I'd love to have you on again as you get into the Subway, change it into a Nash Dogs, and you sort of get it open. Love to talk about that experience, what it was like, training, all of that. But I know that's a lot, so I don't want to ask for more. I think we'll continue after that if that's okay with you.
Yeah, for sure.
And when is that? Oh, go ahead.
Now, I'm about to answer the same question you're about to ask.
Yeah, go ahead.
We're hoping for spring, so January the 13th right now. So we are hoping for late April, early May. We're actually going to be doing a soft opening at a location that is within 5 minutes of the Subway. There is a restaurant that is going out of business, and they have a couple of months left on their lease. So I'm going to commandeer that space and take over some of their equipment. It's literally on the same street. So I've already put it in our local Facebook group and everybody's for it. So we're going to use that as kind of the warm up to the concept so that we're not going in cold. Gonna put flyers and bags and just really promote the hell out of it so that on the grand opening, we're inviting people that have been eating with us for 8 to 10 weeks already to a permanent grand opening brick-and-mortar location instead of the first day grand opening and it's full and we're just trying to hope people are coming, and we're going to drum up the business for 10 weeks. And so anyways, you'll be seeing some stuff about that on social media in the next couple of days. I just finalized that today, and we're hoping to open that up on January 25th. So that'll be a 10-week location in anticipation of the new location.
I love it. Love it. Where can they find you online? Where can they find you on social media?
NashDogs.com, at Nash Dogs on any platform.
And the addresses of all the locations, and if they come to Nashville, that way everyone can find you. Where are all these locations geographically?
So just gonna give the food truck and Opry Mills for now. So Opry Mills is 433 Opry Mills Drive, entrance 3. It's a kiosk in the middle of the mall, not in the food court. It's its own standalone location. So that's Opry Mills. And then NashDogs.com will tell you where the food truck is at every day. And then I will be keeping that website update with the new location. But the new location is going to be in Old Hickory. It's going to be 37138. It'll be somewhere near 1903 Old Hickory Boulevard, 37138. So I would say within about 5 minutes of that address. And anyways, just stay tuned online and I'll have the official stuff posted soon.
Yep. And this will be my question from way that I never answered for an audience member way back when. Will you, or have you thought about designing your style of mini food trailers and selling them? Because I think there's a lot of people out there. We know what a push cart looks like in New York. We know what a food trailer, food truck location looks like, but there's a very a lot of genius in what you did. And from some of the photos we had and the things we posted when we were doing the teaser reels for Foodtopia, all of that stuff, still very thankful for that. I appreciate all of that stuff. And I still have tons of photographs of all the stuff we did, which the audience will be seeing as we launch this episode. But have you ever thought about that? It was a really great question, in my opinion, because so many people could use a lesser entry point into whatever food business they're doing.
Yeah, for sure. I've had people offer to pay me to build it. I think that I'm going to get to a point where I just sell the blueprint. But to be honest with you, I'm not really ready to do that yet because I want to use it as a leveraging point for franchising. Do you want to franchise Nash Dogs with a food truck, as a hot dog stand, as a brick and mortar? Like, how do you want to serve your clientele? And then I can walk you through that approach. So the design plan is always been available online. It's on my website. But as far as like me helping someone do that, I would probably have a flat rate. And I think that, just the way that it works with anybody else, in any other business, like I've got to the point now to where I can't really do too much like pro bono work per se. Pam with Nana's Lemonade. I built her lemonade stand for free, but that's when I had more time. If I was going to do something now, I'd probably charge a couple grand. But long term, for a hot dog stand like that, I would build it out for someone, teach them the process, but there would be a franchise fee associated with it and royalties in perpetuity. And it's just, it's a great idea, but at this point, I'm not really about juicing up somebody else's entrepreneurship or under a different name or label. Anybody that wants one of those trailers, it's going to be called Nash Dogs. And at the end of the day, they're going to pay the franchise fee. I'll have the royalties, but they'll never own the structure. The labeling, the cart, the material will always be mine. I've thought it through, like the grill, the refrigerator, you'll buy all that. Propane tanks, you'll buy that. But what our partnership is, if you decide to dissolve it and you want to go do Justin's Dogs, you can go do Justin's Dogs, but you're going to take your equipment and find another food trailer because you're not going to do it on a hot dog stand that looks like this. Because the hot dog stands that look like this are Nash Dogs. And if you don't want to do it anymore, take your equipment. Here's your buyout. Leave my trailer. Leave my branding. Go. So that's kind of where I'm at on that. I'm good with using the processes for it, but at this point, I'm not really. I don't want someone taking a Nash Dog lookalike and tarnishing my brand. Because it's easy to learn recipes and to duplicate your own menu, but the unique look of my hot dog stand, there's actually one on Facebook. I think that somebody tried to duplicate it and it looked like crap.
I do know what you're talking about. 100% actually got like maybe a couple like 6, 7, 8 months ago. I saw it. Maybe not, but it had an eerie similarity to yours.
It sure did. I know exactly the one you're talking about. And I was like, they tried and failed. And, like, I think that there's more than enough to go around for everybody. I want everyone to succeed. But if you, if for lack of better wording, if you're going to bite my style, you're going to pay me for it. I actually had to file a lawsuit last year, I believe. This guy opened, so he owns, and I will blast him. It's called Vic's Brown Butter Dogs. He's in the arcade downtown Nashville. So his business not doing so well. So what's he do? He rebrands his website as Nash Dogs. He saved my pictures, click and save offline, and he created a new website. He rebranded his Google page as Nash Dogs. He put my pictures that I took on his website, and was having people buy a Nash dog from him, but it wasn't coming from me. You know what I'm saying? So we sent him a cease and desist, and he had to stop using the branding and the logos and the names. He had a whole like Uber store set up, and he was selling his brand of hot dogs under the Nash Dogs brand. It was the craziest thing. But they say imitation is the biggest form of flattery or whatever. But I was not flattered. I was pretty annoyed, to be honest with you.
That's not imitation. That's copying, right?
He had a picture
the
of
imitation would be like taking
card.
it and maybe improving on it or changing it or developing your own style or whatever. But to totally copy it, that's a different story. There's like no human thought process going in there whatsoever. Even AI today requires human thought process to help put it into play. Like, come on. Anyway, go on.
I had this picture that I took of, there was a Nash dog sitting next to a cup of beer, and then up against the cup of beer was one of my business cards. So on the business card it says Nash Dog, got my phone number, and then it says Michael Spencer. Okay, my personal Nash Dogs business card that I give to customers. I've got the ones that are just like generic that say Nash Dogs, and then I've got the ones with my name on it. So I was at an event, and I was like, that's a cool shot. I popped this picture, I posted online. And then when I found his website, it's his main picture. So when you go to his website, the first things you see is this picture that has my first, last name, and phone number on there on his website. And it was just the craziest shit in the world, man. So that's one of the things that kind of made me hesitate on really expanding the model and being more giving with it. There's another local hot dog guy that has started using the same meat that I use, and he takes his pictures the same way that I do, and he's definitely an imitator, and I'm flattered, and like I'm not really that upset about that or upset at all, to be honest with you. But what I've learned is that like my formula is attractive and people are already duplicating it. So to answer your question in a very long-winded way, I don't want to fuel that any more than it already have been fueled, because there's already several examples of people trying to duplicate my stuff in a weird way. That the second guy I talked about, he called me, we had a conversation, I was just chatting with him, helping him out a little bit, and I go on his fucking Instagram and it looks like Nash Dogs number 2, but like not done as well.
yeah, I know what you're talking about. It was so, I couldn't even it took me a few minutes to like really digest what was going on, because it looked like you. It appeared to be like you, even the Uber thing. But I was like, what is going on? We never talked about this. I don't think he has a ghost kitchen. Like, it was really this weird thing on there. And I remember you and I talked about it offline afterwards when I asked you about it, but it's a bizarre thing. It's a bizarre thing. I don't know.
Yeah, but no worries. Like that's why I told you earlier. I mean, that's just the fuel to kind of keep going.
Yeah,
it lets me know that I'm doing things the right way, and if I keep pushing the buck forward, eventually things will turn into a blaze. It'll turn from a small campfire to it'll turn into the Palisades. Sorry for the terrible joke.
Yeah, no, that's maybe too soon. But you guys do have snow in Nashville, so I think you're getting your own form of torture there. Nashville
We
doesn't
are
feel
for
snow.
sure.
Nashville doesn't know what to do in the snowstorm. I know I was trapped there during Christmas and Christmas Eve and Christmas, well, in 2022. Yeah. So,
Yeah, this infrastructure is trash
yeah.
in that regard.
The city grew so fast compared to what it could. And Denver was the same way. It grew so fast. It took the infrastructure so long to catch up. And now everyone moved to Denver again, and we're having the same problem. So they're very similar cities. Denver has a lot more ability to expand than Nashville. That's why Nashville has to go up so much, I think, because it's still a baby city in many ways. But you're in a booming city, and it's a place to do a food franchise. It's also a place to anchor a bunch of corporate stores, to leverage franchises, leverage corporate stores, leverage food trucks, leverage carts. That's the thing today. And the other thing is hot dogs aren't going anywhere. They've been around for a very long time. Sausages not going anywhere, guys. As an Italian, I'm very proud of these things. But these are markets, okay? And there are a few businesses in the hot dog game that are doing it right. And the ability to get involved with these businesses as a franchisee, or start working in these businesses while they're young before they franchise, to be one of the first franchisees, potentially. You heard what I said, right? That's a big deal. Like these guys, there's a lot of names like this. Dave, who started Wendy's, was originally a franchisee of KFC.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not, these are paths in life. You have to take stepping stones. You just don't jump to superstardom. You may have to start off at a small cart in your garage. Doesn't matter, wherever it is.
Keep me going right there. Sorry to interrupt, but that's when I already knew that story about Dave, but I've read quite a few just like it, and that is what keeps me going. Because honestly, anything less than that is failure, and there's no reason why it shouldn't be that. And if it doesn't get to that, it's not because of the business; it's because of me. If you see Nash Dogs cease to exist, don't think it was because of Nash Dogs. No, it was because of Michael Fincher.
Yeah, no kidding, right? No, I know that lesson very well. It points to the top, and it points to leadership, and no matter how many people or who wants to duck it or duck responsibility, if you're an owner of a business and you're at the top, it does fall on you. I know it's fallen on me many times, and many times, the glory falls on all of those who actually do it in the business. They are responsible for that. So that's the way it works. We can't do it without them, but certainly leading it at the end of the day, the decisions are made by one person or the leaders of the business, however you want to look at it. So thank you, Michael. I appreciate you big time, and love you big time as well, man. You're a huge influence in my life for sure. So
I certainly appreciate that. And it's always nice talking with you for a minute. Good to catch up.
Yeah, you're one of my circle shuffles individuals, as all my circles shuffled the last 3 years. So I appreciate it for sure. Definitely reach out to you a lot. I run a lot of things by Michael randomly here and there, and I love what he does and the time that he gives to his community. So I just want to make note of that. Thank you, everyone in the audience. I love you guys. I appreciate you guys. You can find this on Spotify or anywhere else you grow yourself through podcasts, and we're out.